Late night here at Bronco Stadium at Mile High, Colorado, 52-31. This is definitely one of those games, if you're a CU fan, if you're glass half full, you take away some of the things they did offensively, the takeaways, and you know, you win by 3 touchdowns, you're 1-0, but on the other side, goodness gracious, major concerns about this defense. We thought there were going to be major concerns about this defense. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
But even more so than maybe we thought in this first game, at least. Yeah,
certainly I didn't think CSU would put up 31 points against this defense. I mean, we had heard about the struggles on defense, so we've talked about it. Mel Tucker after the game said, I didn't really see anything out there that I didn't think I'd see. He kind of thought they would struggle on defense, but he probably didn't think that they'd give up 31 points either. So really, I mean, the 4 takeaways saved them. I mean, those were huge in this game. They might have still won it either way, but I mean, 2 of those were massive. Onu's 2 interceptions were nice, but those resulted in 3 points. But I mean, the 2 fumbles that they got were massive, total game changers, I thought. And so, yeah, there's no question. There's some work to be done on this defense.
Even Onu said, "Yeah, I had a couple takeaways, but that forced fumble by Aaron Maddox coming out of halftime is a huge momentum boost." And Onu did say, kind of contradicting Mel Tucker a little bit, that CSU did stuff they weren't prepared for with some of those outside runs.
Yeah, and I think that's Tyson Summers, the defensive coordinator, knows Mike Bobo, and that was maybe a little bit different. I mean, Mike Bobo mentioned it that hey, we had to do some different things. We're not the same type of team as we had. We had to do some different things to get those outside plays, and so yeah, maybe there's a little bit different there. But yeah, they got burned on the outside, and at halftime, I mean, I was just thinking, man, most of those Pac-12 teams they're going to face are faster than that on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And so if they don't shore that up, I mean, it could be an ugly year on defense.
Alex Fontenot, a great game. Not quite a debut. He had 11 carries last year, but he goes 125 yards, 3 touchdowns. His explosiveness is pretty top level. The question is he going to be able to do that against a better defense? We don't know, but he sure took advantage of his opportunities tonight.
Yeah, he really did, and you got to feel good for him. Really good kid, and third year in the program, finally gets a chance to be the guy. I mean, this is a guy that when Philip Lindsay left, initially thought, okay, I could be the guy next year, and then they signed Trayvon McMillan, which obviously was needed for the team. But I talked to him last year, after McMillan got here, and I think he kind of got, down, and not down, but maybe thought, okay, they signed McMillan, he's the guy, and maybe it didn't work like he should have. This year there was an opportunity. He worked hard. You and I have heard Darian Hagan talk about the burst that Alex Fontenot has, and we saw it quite a bit. Again, we'll see if he can do it against, like, in Nebraska, against Washington, teams like that. But hey, great debut for him.
Laviska Shenault held, I wouldn't say relatively in check, but under 100 yards of offense total. But a couple big pass interference calls that, a guy like Laviska Shenault can cause problems that way too. We heard with the staff, they're not going to rely on Laviska Shenault quite as much. I think he's going to have a bigger role in games going forward. I think they kind of wanted to minimize his exposure in this one.
Yeah, and I think, CSU was so burned by him last year that you knew coming into this game they're going to watch number 2 a lot, and they did. And but yeah, I think his total yards, I don't know what it was. Was it under 100? But his impact was well beyond 100 because of those pass interference calls. So he still had a big impact on this game, and great catch for him, that touchdown. I love the bootleg play. Steven going to the left. I thought he made a good throw. I know Laviska had to reach out for it, but that's a tough throw for Steven. Good throw for Laviska, and shows his athleticism, making the catch and diving for the end zone. So yeah, he's going to have bigger games than this, but not a solid debut for him.
I understand Mike Bobo's frustration. He has yet to beat CU. He's got to be getting close to being on the hot seat here. They're getting frustrated up in Fort Collins, but a little classless just to blame the fact that there's not neutral rest for this game, because the referees are not why CSU lost this football game.
Yeah, I agree. I get why he's frustrated. I think that's more something that maybe you bring up in a couple days from now, when you meet with reporters again.
Or even pregame, that's the situation.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. But to walk in after you just got beat by 21 points and, essentially blame this game on the refs, and that's kind of what he did. And he mentioned that big play by the big fumble that Aaron Maddox forced coming out of the half. And according to Mike, he said that the refs were yelling ease up, and then let the fumble happen. And Mel Tucker didn't hear that. Who knows? It's one of those football things that one side's going to say this, one side's going to say that. But yeah, it looks like sour grapes. It's not a good look for Mike Bobo, who I think he's a good guy. I've enjoyed the interactions we've seen with him at media events. He seems like a good guy, but this is not a good look for him, for a guy that, he has really stunk in rivalry games. Not just this one, but, Air Force and Wyoming. He's not good in those games. And coming off a 3-9 season, they're not expected to do well this year. Yeah, it's not a good look for the guy.
I got to admit, when I saw the takeaway boxing robe, the gloves, and the punching bag, it looked corny to me.
Yeah.
But I'm also for these college kids having fun. And as Mel Tucker, Onu said, and we even saw it just in this game, takeaways are so big.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit of extra fun you can add to that, to add, an incentive there. I guess I'm okay with it. I don't know.
I feel the same way. I've never liked the turnover chain and all that stuff. It just seems, I don't like it. And what surprises me is I think that it's very anti-Mel Tucker. From everything we've seen from him, he's not a guy, from what we've seen, that really buys into some of that stuff that doesn't really seem to matter. Things like, we've asked him about picking the uniform combination. He's like, yeah, I took care of that in the summer. Yeah. Players don't need to worry about that. So I think it's kind of interesting that he allows that. But hey, he's also a defensive guy, and he allowed it at Georgia. They had something at Georgia last year too. So yeah, but he's also a player's coach. I will say that, and he does understand. I think he understands these young guys and maybe what gets them excited.
Well, if they don't shore some stuff up defensively, they're going to need to see that robe a lot if they want to win football games going forward this season. Mel Tucker did say, hey, we're going to show our most improvement from week 1 to week 2. Even if they show some improvement, Nebraska's coming to town, and I know there's a lot of CU fans that think they're overrated, and maybe they are, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they've got big lines and a really good quarterback. They've got to show a lot of improvements before next week, and I certainly right now can't predict them to win that football game.
Yeah, and last year's game up in Lincoln, turnovers were huge for CU, winning that game, especially getting the early lead. It's hard to say that that's going to happen again, but yeah, if this team has to rely on getting 3 or 4 takeaways a game, that's not going to happen. That might happen a couple times this year, but and you might get one here and there. Is that enough to win a game? That turnover robe or whatever you want to call it, how much are we going to see it this year? We need to see it a lot for this defense to be good.
Well, it's about 3 hours past my bedtime, so I think we should sign off here and bring you more analysis on Monday.